Hey guys, it's Liam here, and today we're going to talk about something that I stumbled upon when the Bible talks about drug use. Okay, so a little bit of backstory. I was talking to one of my friends, and she smoked weed, and we were kind of debating on. She thought it was good to smoke weed. I thought it was not good to smoke weed, and we were debating. And one of her defenses for why it was good to smoke weed was she said she felt closer to God. Okay, now keep that in the back of your mind. Now we're going to jump forward a little bit of time. When I was studying for a lesson I was going to teach at a youth center about the fruits of the spirit, found in Galatians. And I was also going through the fruits of the flesh, and I really, really wanted to study this in depth. So I was going through each one of the fruits of the flesh at the time, and I was looking up the Greek word and exactly what that meant. Now, some of the fruits of the flesh, I didn't really need to do that. I mean, it was pretty simple what it meant. But there were some, which I'm going to get to in a little bit, that were a little bit harder to understand, and I didn't have a great explanation for the definition of these words. So, as I was going through, I was learning a little bit, and there were some things that I was realizing that I didn't realize before. And then I came up to the word sorcery or witchcraft, depending on your translation. And the Greek word for that word used in Galatians was pharmakia. Now, what English word does that sound like? Which is actually a root. That this Greek word is a root for this word. All right, pharmakia. Sounds a lot like pharmacy. So I started questioning, and I was like, what does modern pharmaceuticals, what does medicine and sorcery have in common? A little bit of backstory about this word. According to BibleHub.com, the short definition for pharmakia is magic, sorcery, and enchantment. And it has another definition from, I think, helpsbible.com that they have on their website. I think this is what it's saying. And the definition from that is properly drug related sorcery, like the practice of magical arts, etc. And it was used three times in the NASB, one being sorceries and two being sorcery. Yeah. So I like Greek. So I was wondering, I was like, what does pharmaceuticals and sorcery have in common? So I went ahead and did a little bit of studying, and I found that back in the time that this was written, people would have these rituals, like these demonic rituals, and they would take these drugs to get a more spiritual sense, which reminded me of my friend who said she felt closer to God. Okay, now those are all the facts. Now I want to start getting into a little bit of my opinions and kind of what I think is going on, kind of where I started thinking in my thought process after this. So I started thinking, it was like, if she feels closer to God, and people back in the Bible times started using drugs that I feel were similar, gave similar effects to marijuana, if they were using these drugs for these pagan rituals, for a more spiritual sense, is the real problem with drug use not physical, but spiritual? Does it put ourselves in a place spiritually that we as humans do not belong? Okay, so I started thinking about this, theorizing this for a while, and it was interesting. I stumbled upon something else. One of my coworkers at the time was a price shopper, and he was telling me all these stories about supernatural activity in his house and in his childhood. So, and this was all still fresh on my mind, this pharmakia and all this drug stuff. So I made a connection there. It's like, what if there's drug use in his family, which is causing these demons to manifest themselves in a way. So I asked him, I was like, hey, was there drug use in your family? And he said yes. So I'm not saying that there is a connection there, but it makes sense that there is, at least in my mind. That the real issue with drug use is not physical, even though there are a lot of physical issues with certain drugs. I'm not saying marijuana. I'm not going to get into that debate. But there are some drugs that you cannot deny have some pretty bad physical effects on you. But the real problem is a spiritual problem, that it puts your mind and it puts your puts your mind in a place where it doesn't belong, or at least doesn't belong yet. You know, so yeah, and I do understand. One of my friends has told me recently that she smokes marijuana to help cope with some crazy painful things in her life, and this is going into the next video. The next video, I'm going to be talking about how, as Christians, we can cope with anxiety, fear, a bunch of different stuff. I'll be talking about that, trying to put it in a 5-minute video, but let's see how that goes. So, there are some facts and some of my opinions and some of my theories about drug use in general. You could even classify caffeine in this if you want to get super technical, but yeah, I'm not going to get into that, though. I'm not going to get into that. But if you did enjoy this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you have any questions, any comments, if you disagree with me, if you agree with me, go ahead and tell me in the comment section below. And if you have not subscribed yet and you would like to see more of these videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And yeah, thank you for watching. God bless.